All right. Good morning. Court's in session on the 5th of December, 2020. We are present in docket number CR-19-0127, captioned State of Wyoming versus Casey Moore in the 10th Judicial District, County of Carter, State of Wyoming. Casey Moore has been charged with one count of manslaughter in violation of Wyoming Statute 6-2-105 and one count of criminally negligent homicide in violation of Wyoming Statute 6-2-107 as a lesser included offense. My name is Tori Kricken. I'm the presiding judge over the trial today, and I am joined by co-judges Dave Evans, Catherine Adams, Geneva Engelhart, and Kit Wetland. I'd like to begin by having counsel introduce themselves and exchange rosters to the extent that can be done. Let's begin with counsel for the state of Wyoming.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Camila Rivera. I will be delivering the opening statement. I will also be doing the direct examination of Mickey Espinoza and the cross-examination of Andy Swift. And with that, I'll allow my co-counsels to introduce themselves.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm Cyrus Rain, and I'll be delivering the closing statement for the prosecution, as well as doing the direct examination of Parker Nichols and the cross-examination of Cody Bender.
Good morning, Your Honor. I am Connor Fertig. I will be direct examining Dr. Jamie Kildare and cross-examining Casey Moore. I will now allow my witnesses to introduce themselves.
Thank you.
My name is Brianne Bailey, and I will be playing Dr. Jamie Kildare.
My name is Mariah DeBono, and I'll be portraying Mickey Espinoza.
I am Lily Warren, and I will be portraying Parker Nichols.
Thank you. Counsel for the defense.
I am Cody Hinman. I will be conducting the opening statement and the direct examination of Andy Swift and the cross-examination of Mickey Espinoza. May my co-counsel introduce himself.
I'm Ailey Terminello, and I'll be conducting the direct examination of Casey Moore and the cross-examination of Dr. Jamie Kildare.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Sarah Stipe. I will be conducting the direct examination of Cody Bender and the cross-examination of Parker Nichols. We would now like to allow our witnesses to introduce themselves.
I am Elizabeth Martinez, and I will be conducting the role of Cody Bender.
I am Una Clark, and I will be playing the role of Andy Swift.
Hi, my name is Garrett Parker. I will be portraying Casey Moore.
Wonderful. Thank you all. I appreciate that. I'd like to confirm first whether or not there are any preliminary matters we need to talk about. Counsel for the state, any preliminary matters?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Counsel for the defense, any preliminary matters?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Are we allowed to roam the well of the court during opening and closing?
That's a great question. I anticipated that. I don't have a problem with it personally, but in terms of logistics, I'm thinking probably not, so that we can keep you near a microphone and a video camera. So for today's trial proceedings, let's not roam. Thank you all. I do also want to confirm that we do not have any other teams that are listening in or participating other than the two that are appearing for trial today. If anyone becomes aware of anybody else who's present and shouldn't be, please call that to my attention immediately. And then let me ask as well, are either of these teams desirous of videotaping today's proceedings? That can be done only with consent of both teams.
I don't think we have a problem with it.
Are you planning on videotaping?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, let me ask counsel for defense. Are you planning on videotaping?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, sounds like that is a non-issue. I appreciate that. I'd like to next swear in all of the witnesses. So both witnesses for the state and witnesses for the defense, if you can all please raise your right hand at this time. And let me ask if each of you swear that the testimony you'll be giving today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as governed by the rules of the Wyoming High School Mock Trial Competition.
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Appreciate that.
Your Honor,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. We are videotaping it
Okay.
from the admin end, if that's okay with everyone.
Sounds like there's no objection to videotaping, so I appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
With that said, I believe we can proceed forward with our opening statements. Counsel for the state, would you like to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Okay, with that. Youth endangerment is defined as when an adult caregiver allows a child to be placed or remain in a dangerous, unhealthy, or inappropriate situation. This is precisely what Casey Moore is responsible for today. He has continuously put the lives of campers at Create in danger, and the death of Derek Overstreet was inevitable under his care. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are here today to receive justice for the death of Derek Overstreet, who died under the supposed care of Create owner Casey Moore. Mr. Moore is being charged with manslaughter, defined as the unlawful killing of a human being without expressed or implied malice, and criminally negligent homicide, defined as when the perpetrator acts in a reckless, dangerous, or negligent manner which causes the death of another person. The prosecution is here to prove that Casey Moore is in fact guilty of both manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. We will be able to see this through the testimonies of three main witnesses. One, Mickey Espinoza, the longtime trusted program coordinator of Create. Two, Jamie Kildare, a family doctor who had been responsible for the medical care of campers at Create until recently because of one of Mr. Moore's budgets. And third, Parker Nichols, a child psychologist and expert in outdoor therapy programs. First, the prosecution will call Mickey Espinoza to the stand, where she'll testify on how Casey's tight budgets led them to cut corners in areas that were already neglected enough. Espinoza will give us an inside look at how Create really ran and how Casey Moore's intentions never went beyond making a profit. Second, we'll call Parker Nichols to the stand, where they'll be able to testify on how these budgets endangered the youth at the ranch. From an unbiased point of view, Nichols will talk about the negligence that occurred at the ranch under Moore's care, as well as with expert advice on how poorly managed Create really was. Finally, we'll have Dr. Jamie Kildare testify and provide his medical opinion on the death of Derek Overstreet. Kildare advised several times on what type of survival skills should be taught at the ranch in order to prevent such tragedies from happening. Tragedies such as Derek Overstreet's death. Once all witnesses have testified, there should be one reoccurring thought. Derek Overstreet's death could have been prevented. Save it were for Mr. Moore's constant negligence, Derek Overstreet could have been here today. It has simply been pure luck that someone hasn't died sooner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would counsel for the defense like to offer an opening statement at this point in time or reserve opening?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, today you'll hear a case about trust, specifically the trust between Casey Moore and Mickey Espinoza. This case will be told through three different witnesses. Andy Swift, who will testify what the camp was like and what the solo trek was like. Casey Moore, who will back up what it was like to run the camp. And from Cody Bender, who will testify what WBEC's accreditation is and how it applies to the Wilderness Ranch. At the end of this trial, we ask for a verdict of not guilty. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. The state can call its first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call Mickey Espinoza to the stand, please.
Ms. Espinoza, you've already been sworn under oath, and so Ms. Rivera can continue with direct examination or commence with direct examination when she's ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay. Ms. Espinoza, could you please state your name for the court?
My name is Mickey Espinoza.
And how old are you?
I am 37 years old.
What field of work are you in?
I am in wilderness therapy.
Do you currently have a job in this field?
Yes, I do.
And what is that job?
I am the trusted program coordinator at the CREATE program.
Thank you. And how do you know the defendant in this case?
Me and him went to college together at Wyoming State University and then later started the CREATE program together.
And what does CREATE stand for?
Character Re-Education Adventure Therapy.
And what was the goal of CREATE?
It was taking at-risk teens and putting them onto a ranch for a month and straightening them out and make them drug-free before sending them home.
Thank you. Could you tell me what your role in CREATE was?
As I said before, I was the program coordinator.
And can you name some of the specific tasks you carried out?
I bought supplies, planned meals, arranged transportation, hired the staff.
And what was Mr. Moore's role in CREATE?
Personally, I didn't see him have much of a role in the program. He was mostly there the first day of camp and then nowhere to be seen after.
Thank you. And were there ever any conflicts between you and Mr. Moore, if any?
Yes.
And what were these arguments about?
We would always argue about his very strict, tight budgets.
Okay, thank you. Now I'd like to go into detail about the finances at the CREATE program. How much did you charge per student?
We charged $4,000 per camper.
And were there any additional charges?
There was a $10,000 fee.
And did you and Mr. Moore make a profit?
We did. We made over $6,000 per camper.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you some questions about the activities done at CREATE. What were some of the standard activities?
So we did horseback riding, rock climbing, and then we would have survival skill training.
So you mentioned survival skills. What were the survival skills taught?
We taught them how to use a compass, read a map, where to find water, how to build a fire and a shelter.
And why were you teaching these survival skills to the campers?
We taught these survival skills to the campers so they could use them later on in their solo trek.
Now, I'd like to talk about the solo trek. First, could you just explain what the solo trek consisted of?
The solo trek was where the campers would spend 2 days alone in the wilderness using the skills that they learned throughout the CREATE program to become their own person.
And thank you. So that was the goal of the solo trek, correct?
Yes, was to make them a better and confident person.
Thank you. Now I'd like to talk about the day of August 29th, 2019. At what time did you arrive to pick up the trekkers?
1 p.m.
And did every camper arrive at that time?
No.
Could you name some of them that weren't there, or how many?
We had 3 campers missing, including Derek Overstreet.
Now, at what time did you go looking for these?
Around
campers?
4 p.m.
And now that you mentioned Derek, how would you describe Derek?
He was kind of quiet, short, pudgy, kind of a follower.
Did you think Derek was ready for the solo trek?
No.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness?
You may.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to enter an exhibit into evidence, and that'd be exhibit number 1. So I would be handing you this. Everybody can see it.
Any objections?
No? Okay. And
Exhibit number 1 will be admitted.
thank you. Ms. Espinoza, could you please identify what I have just handed you?
You have just handed me the medical form of Derek Overstreet.
Thank you. And Your Honor, I move to enter this exhibit into evidence if authenticity has been stipulated.
My understanding is it has, so exhibit 1 will be admitted.
Thank you. So, Ms. Espinoza, I'd like to direct your attention to question A1. And now, under that question, are there any yeses marked under has your child ever had a diagnosis of or treatment of any of the following?
Yes.
And what would that be?
Diabetes.
Okay, thank you. And now, if you could please read question number 3 and the answer for it.
Let's see, it says, if answered yes to any of the above questions, please provide any additional information. Not diabetes, but pre-diabetes, Derek had high blood sugar.
Okay, thank you so much. With that, I'd like to enter another exhibit into evidence, Your Honor.
Okay.
And that'd be exhibit number 4. And this is what it would look like. I would be handing it to you right now.
And exhibit number 4 is the Journal of Derek Overstreet.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection from the defense?
Okay, and
No objection. Exhibit 4 will be admitted.
okay, thank you. And Ms. Espinoza, if you could please identify what I have just handed to you.
You have handed me the Journal of Derek Overstreet.
Okay, thank you. And Your Honor, I move to enter this exhibit if authenticity has been stipulated.
My understanding that it has exhibit 4 is admitted.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Espinoza, I'd like to direct your attention to the journal entry dated on August 28th, 2019. And this be the very last page of the journal.
Okay.
And if you could please read, starting from, this is the first night until sleep.
Okay. This is the first night. I'm a little worried. I got halfway like I wanted, but the wells and the springs along the way were dried up. So I haven't had any water since this morning. I'm getting dehydrated, and I'm worried. I feel dizzy right now, also nauseous. I'll write a little more and then I'll sleep.
Thank you. And if you could also read on the second paragraph on the line, it starts, I made up my mind, and just read until push through, please.
I made up my mind to push through to the end of the trail. Nothing's gonna stop me. Push through. That's what I learned at this ranch. I'll push through and
Thank you. And now lastly, if you could, on the journal entry dated August 29th, 2019, if you could just read those last couple of sentences starting with, am I dying?
Okay. Am I dying? I think I hear Mickey calling for me. I'll stay here and wait for him. But I'm good. And that's where it ends.
Thank you so much, Ms. Espinoza. And with that, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any cross-examination of Ms. Espinoza?
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Espinoza, is it true that you bought the supplies for the camp?
Yes.
And is it true that you planned the meals for the camp?
Yes.
And is it true that you provided the transportation for the camp?
Yes.
And is it true that you hired the people that worked on the camp?
Yes, I did.
And is it true that you planned the kids' work schedules on the camp?
I did.
And in your opinion, did you run the camp?
I thought I did, mostly because Casey didn't really help a lot around the ranch.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Espinoza, as program coordinator, could you name some of the specific tasks you carried out?
I would also call like the doctor if any of the kids got hurt. Like I said, I bought supplies, planned meals, arranged transportation, hired the counselors who worked there, everything like that.
Thank you. And could you name what Mr. Moore's role was in CREATE?
He bought the ranch, but he wasn't really an active participant during the CREATE program.
Okay. And if you could, so were you the owner of CREATE?
No.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Espinoza. Is Ms. Espinoza under subpoena? I would assume so, and if so, can she be released? Any objections?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ms. Espinoza. We're done with your testimony today, and the state may call its next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Parker Nichols to the stand.
Okay, wonderful. We have Parker Nichols present, already sworn under oath. And direct
Yes.
examination may commence when you're ready.
Please state your name and occupation for the court.
I am Parker Nichols, and I am the director of the Adolescent Development Institute based in Chicago.
And what is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's and master's degree in the child psychology.
Have you published any books or articles?
Yes, I have published many articles and books on the psychology of young people aged 11 through 21 and effective programs or effective therapies to treat physical, psychological, emotional, mental, and spiritual problems.
And what is your expertise?
I have expertise in evaluating residential treatment programs.
Any specific types of programs?
More specifically, the therapeutic adventure programming.
And what are you being paid to testify today?
Nothing. I am here testifying free of charge for my expert opinion.
Alrighty. Why are adolescents enrolled in therapeutic adventure programs?
They are enrolled in therapeutic programs because mostly they have been in trouble for a really long time, and their families and schools feel they're out of options.
And what are some of the problems that adolescents face before entering the therapeutic adventure programs?
Sometimes they face substance abuse, depression, anxiety, and many other mental and physical emotional issues.
Anything else?
They might have also tried to run away from home or cause self-harm.
All right, let's talk about the wilderness solo treks. Based on your expertise with therapeutic adventure programs, what is the purpose of this wilderness solo trek?
The purpose of this wilderness solo trek is for the occasion of a young person to realize a connection to all living things and to contemplate his or her own behavior as being either wholesome or destructive.
All right. What, if anything, is negative about the solo treks?
The solo treks can cause fear, anxiety, physical discomfort, or self-doubt and insecurity if the person is not physically and mentally prepared for being alone or for the harsh conditions.
All right, and what are the benefits of wilderness therapy?
Mainly, wilderness therapy is a way it can change dysfunctional behavior and can also change someone's life, but conducted wrong is very dangerous.
And how does it change behavior?
It changes behavior by impacting the destructive behavior and shows like the participant a good alternative by teaching strategies to cope with personal or family issues.
What does the research show about therapeutic wilderness programs?
There is no definitive research on the efficacy of therapeutic wilderness programs.
Let's talk about the program created by Casey Moore and Mickey Espinoza. What did you study in preparation for your testimony?
I was able to study industry publications by the Wilderness Behavioral Education Center and the budget and staffing for Defendants Create Camp at the Wilderness Ranch.
And what did you learn?
I learned that Create hired half the counselors that they should have, and all the head counselors were interns from the social work program at Wyoming State University.
Anything else?
There was also no healthcare provider on the premises.
What about the program itself?
It appeared that the therapeutic physical activities consisted of cleaning and maintenance of the ranch facilities, including taking care of horses and cattle. And yeah.
All right, let's move on to the solo wilderness trek. Did you review the preparation used by Casey Moore and Mickey Espinoza prior to the solo trek?
Yes, I did.
And what did you learn from that?
I learned that although participants were taught the basic skills such as how to create a fire with matches and how to string up a poncho to make shelter, they were not prepared for things such as the isolation or the deprivation of food.
Ms. Parker, in your expert opinion, what was overlooked in the preparation for the solo trek?
The main thing that was overlooked in the preparation was that Casey and Mickey failed to check the trails designated for the kids to make sure the water sources were there.
As an expert in child psychology, what is your opinion about Derek Overstreet based on his journal?
The journal shows.
Sorry, do we have an objection?
Yes, we do. Objection, Your Honor. Foundation, this witness has not been tendered as an expert.
Any response?
Doesn't have to tender as an expert, Your Honor.
That's true. Objection is overruled, but could you lay a little more foundation for the basis of her knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor. As the head of the development institution and as an expert in child psychology, what is your opinion about Derek Overstreet based on his journal?
He was a young man desperately looking for respect and affirmation.
Based on your expertise, what is your opinion of the management of the Wilderness Ranch?
It is my opinion that Casey Moore's management of the Wilderness Ranch fell far below the standard of care that a reasonable person would execute.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Nichols, isn't it true that your practice was based out of Chicago, Illinois?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Okay. Ms. Nichols, isn't it true that your practice was based out of Chicago, Illinois?
Yes.
And isn't it true that there are not many similarities between Chicago, Illinois, and Carter City, Wyoming?
True.
And isn't it true that the kids at the Wilderness Ranch were taught how to survive with basic ways of survival in the Wyoming wilderness?
They were taught how to make a fire and make shelter, yes.
And would these things be counted as basic ways to survive in the Wyoming wilderness?
Yes, very basic.
And isn't it true that a solo trek can be used as a therapeutic way to find clarity of mind?
Yes, it can, but if conducted wrong, it is very, very dangerous.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. I'm assuming that Ms. Nichols is under subpoena. Any objection to her being released as well? Seeing no objection, Ms. Nichols, you're released from your subpoena and we're done with your testimony today. Thank you much. Does the state have any further witnesses to call?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution calls Dr. Kildare.
Thank you. Dr. Kildare, you are already sworn under oath and direct examination may commence when the state is ready.
Please state your name for the court.
My name is Dr. Jamie Kildare.
Where do you live?
I live in Carter City, Wyoming.
What is your current occupation?
I have a family medical practice in Carter City with a specialty in sports medicine.
Please tell us about your post-secondary educational background.
I have my Bachelor of Science from Wyoming State University with a major in kinesiology.
How did you enter the field of medicine?
I wanted to become an athletic trainer for the WSU Fighting Ferrets, and after analyzing the team physicians, I just really enjoyed what I saw.
What do you like about your job?
I love encouraging kids to stay fit and healthy, and I love encouraging them to get out in nature.
Any special training or certifications?
Yes, I am board certified by the American Board of Family Medicine.
Do you know the defendant, Casey Moore?
I do.
How?
For about 6 years, I provided on-site medical services and worked as Create Outdoor Camp.
What were your duties as Create Camp doctor?
I mainly helped treat some injuries that the participants experienced.
What were some of those maladies?
Some common ones were I x-rayed and set broken bones, I put salve on sunburn, treated asthma attacks.
What did you typically treat in the campers?
Typical injuries included rock climbing incidents or falling off of fences. We had the occasional horse step on a participant's foot.
Did you treat anything else?
I did. I treated a couple of drug overdoses and the occasional concussion.
Where did you treat them?
I had a small clinic set up at the ranch, or if the incident was severe enough, I treated them in the emergency room.
What were you paid for your services?
$500 a day.
You mentioned earlier that you were the Create Camp doctor through 2017. Why did you stop doing that job?
I'm not sure. They terminated my seasonal contract in 2018 without an explanation.
Did anyone replace you?
Yes, they hired, Dr. Ed Moorcroft.
How was Dr. Moorcroft's position from the camp different from yours?
Dr. Moorcroft was an on-call doctor.
From what location was he on call?
He was on call from Carter City.
How far from Carter City to the camp?
It's about 25 miles and 10 of them are on a dirt road.
How many licensed camp counselors were there at the Create Camp?
Just one.
During your time as on-site camp doctor, was there anything that especially concerned you about the camp?
Yes, I was specifically concerned about dehydration.
Why were you concerned about dehydration?
Well, most of these kids weren't used to hard work in a hot and dry climate, and you can get very sick without realizing it.
What, if anything, did you advise Defendant Moore and Espinoza relative to dehydration?
I told them that they needed to be constantly encouraging the participants to drink water.
What else did you advise?
I asked that they would not expect the youth to find their own water during the solo expedition.
Why?
Well, first, they were trusting that these kids would be able to find springs, and second, they were trusting that they were able to discern whether the water was clean enough to drink.
What is the rule for dehydration?
If you're starting to feel tired, dizzy, or nauseated, or if a headache develops, you need to get out of the heat immediately and seek a cool spot to drink water.
Any other symptoms of dehydration?
Some can include confusion, faintness, staggering, stuff like that.
Would confusion or faintness, what would confusion or faintness indicate?
A severe dehydration.
What should be done given such symptoms?
If these symptoms are severe, you need to call emergency care immediately.
Please describe the process of dehydration.
Usually the body can regulate the temperature through sweat, but a person too long without fluids cannot use that strategy.
Why not?
The body becomes dehydrated and cannot use enough sweat to cool down.
So what happens next?
The body temperature can cross line into hyperthermia or heat stroke, causing confusion or unconsciousness.
What happens to a body in heat stroke?
At high temperatures, body proteins and membranes around cells, especially in the brain, start to malfunction and break down.
What else can extreme heat affect?
It can affect internal organs, causing the breakdown of heart muscle cells and blood vessels, and it can even result in death.
How quickly can heat stroke come on a person?
It can come on extremely suddenly.
What are some warning symptoms for heat stroke?
Some warning symptoms could include nausea, vomiting, a head sweat, or a back sweat.
Any other symptoms?
Yes, there are neurological symptoms as well. These could be odd behavior, irritability, delusions, hallucinations, or seizures.
What odds does a person suffering from heat stroke have of surviving?
If treated quickly, the odds are very good.
What if hyperthermia, heat stroke, is not treated quickly?
Delaying of this treatment can have serious consequences, such as brain damage or even death.
Dr. Kildare, given what you have just testified, what is particularly troubling about the solo experience Defendant Moore built into his camps?
There are no eyes out there on these at-risk youth wandering for 2 days, so there's no way to perceive these severe symptoms.
How would you describe last summer, 2019, in Carter County?
It was especially hot and dry.
Where were you on August 29th, 2019?
I was at my family clinic in Carter City.
Did you receive a phone call from Mickey Espinoza?
I did.
What did Espinoza say?
He frantically told me that he was bringing in 3 teenagers who had collapsed before they were able to finish their expedition.
What did you do next?
I told him that I would meet him at the emergency room so I could treat these patients properly.
What did you observe about Derek and the other 2 teenagers when they arrived at the hospital?
I could tell right away that they were extremely out of it, and whatever else was wrong, I needed to get them cooled down immediately.
What did you decide to do?
I decided to hook them up to an IV.
Why?
I knew that they were dehydrated and they needed to be cooled down immediately.
Please tell us about your treatment of Derek.
For Derek, I had trouble finding a vein in his arm so I could hook him up to the IV. And along with a pulse that was extremely faint, his heat was very high at 105 degrees.
About what time on the 29th were Derek and the other two teens admitted into the hospital?
They were admitted at 9:34 p.m.
At what time did Derek die?
Derek was pronounced dead at 10 p.m.
In your medical opinion, what was the physiological cause of Derek's death?
Extreme dehydration and hyperthermia.
On what do you base your opinion?
They're based on my findings on his medical examination, as well as his journal entry, which indicate class symptoms of dehydration and hyperthermia.
What medical evidence of Derek's heat stroke, hyperthermia, is there?
In addition to a high temperature, blood which shows electrolyte balances were completely skewed by the cumulative effects of heat dehydration.
Your Honor, permission to approach?
You may.
Thank you. I am handing you what has been formally labeled as Exhibit 2. Could you please identify this for the court?
Yes, this is Derek's lab report on the diabetes incident.
Your Honor, prosecution moves to enter Exhibit 2 into evidence. Its authenticity has been stipulated.
Any objection from the defense? Seeing none, Exhibit 2 will be admitted.
Under Derek's comprehensive metabolic profile, what sodium level is indicated?
Derek's sodium level was at 198 millimoles per liter, which is significantly above the normal range of 135 to 145.
What about his potassium and chloride levels?
His potassium was 4.9 millimoles per liter and his chloride was 102 millimoles per liter, which were also again both significantly above the normal range.
What do these high metabolic numbers indicate?
These indicate an imbalance that can compromise cardiac function and promote other neurologic symptoms.
What are BUN values?
BUN stands for blood urine nitrogen, which is a medical test measuring the amount of urea nitrogen or waste product in blood.
What do BUN values and creatine level in lab reports indicate?
These indicate irreversible kidney damage from prolonged and profound dehydration.
What tests of Derek's two surviving friends did you conduct?
I conducted a CT scan as well as several blood tests and lumbar punctures.
What did you determine about Derek as compared with the other two teens?
To my knowledge, there was nothing we could have done to save Derek.
In preparation for your testimony today, have you reviewed Derek's camp journal?
I have.
What did you find significant about Derek's journal entries?
It's just like reading a textbook. His entries show classic symptoms of dehydration and hypothermia as he was experiencing them and while he was still conscious.
Could you please refer to Exhibit 1, which has already been admitted?
Yes.
Please read the item marked number 1.
It says, has your child ever had a diagnosis of or treatment for any of the following? And some of these include epilepsy, head injury, diabetes, migraine, asthma.
Any yeses marked?
Yes was marked for diabetes.
Please read item 3 under a medical history.
Sorry. If you answered yes to any of the above questions, please provide any additional information. And then it goes on to say, not diabetes, but pre-diabetes. Derek has high blood sugar.
What, if anything, is significant about Derek's pre-diabetes?
Derek's pre-diabetic condition makes him extremely vulnerable to heat stroke.
In your medical opinion, why was Derek's life at risk as he began the solo experience?
He was sent out into a very hostile environment without the skills or ability to save himself.
How do you view these circumstances?
It is not a question of whether someone will get hurt, only who and when.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. So Dr. Kildare, who would you say was the manager of the camp? No, sorry, correction. Would you say that Mickey Espinoza was the manager of the camp?
I think he was the manager, yes, but Casey was the overall owner.
And your contract with the Wilderness Ranch terminated in 2018, correct?
That's correct.
And you were replaced by Dr. Moorcroft?
Yes.
And for you to be replaced, that means Dr. Moorcroft was hired. Hiring someone usually means that the manager does it, correct?
I would say so, yes, but I'm sure they both had a say in who was hired.
So, Dr. Moorcroft, taking your spot was irresponsible.
I would say that's for Casey and Mickey to decide.
And you warned Casey about the not having the children finding the water, correct?
That is correct.
And how did he react negatively?
He said that he didn't think that that should be part of it.
And in doing that, he ignored a medical professional's advice.
He did not find it concerning, but I definitely think it should have been.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Dr. Kildare, you may be released from your subpoena. We're done with your testimony today. Appreciate it. Any further witnesses on behalf of the state?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any motions at this point in time? Seeing none. Okay, wonderful. Any witnesses on behalf of the defense, Casey Moore?
Yes, Your Honor, the defense now calls Andy Swift to the stand.
Okay, I see Andy Swift. Ms. Swift, you are already under oath, and direct examination from the defense can commence when the defense is ready.
Miss Swift, what is your name?
Andy Swift,
What camp did you attend?
the Wilderness Ranch,
Why were you sent to the camp?
because I got in trouble with local authorities.
And who sent you to the camp?
A judge and my parents.
When you got to the camp, was there welcoming?
Yes,
And who gave that welcoming?
Casey Moore.
Moving on to the solo trek. Were you sent out with food or water?
We were sent out with food,
And what was that food?
trail mix, dried fruit.
And when did you call out of the solo trek?
By noon the first day,
And why did you call out of the solo trek?
because I couldn't find any water.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Any cross-examination of Ms. Swift?
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Swift, you mentioned that the food at the camp was pretty skimpy, correct?
Yes, it was.
And you were usually hungry too?
All the time.
You mentioned that Casey wasn't seen often around the camp.
No, he was not.
And Mickey ran the day-to-day operation.
Yes, he did.
You also mentioned that Mickey never seemed too interested in the program.
I
Correct?
believe so.
Okay. He only cared about making a profit?
I believe Casey only wanted the profit.
Yes. And he also only cared about running the program as cheaply as possible?
Yes.
And you also, is it true that you sometimes heard Mickey and Casey arguing about these budgets?
Yes, I did.
And Casey always said no to Mickey's proposal to spend more money, correct?
As far as I know, yes.
Thank you. I'd like to move on to the staff at Create. You mentioned that it was obvious to tell the difference between the amateur counselors and the professional ones,
Yeah.
and that the ones at Create were good but still kind of sketchy.
I believe they were good counselors.
But you do mention that their credentials were sketchy, correct?
Yeah.
You also state that the medical attention you received wasn't the same as the one you were promised, correct?
Yeah.
And that the doctor would only be called if you really needed it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to move on to the solo trek. You went to the rescue phone once you saw that there was no water where the map indicated there should be.
That is correct.
And from there, you called Casey and Mickey to come pick you up because there was no water, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Swift. We're done with your testimony today. You may be released from your subpoena as well. Does the defense have any further witnesses?
Yes, defense would like to call for Casey Moore.
Thank you. There we go. I see Casey Moore at this point in time. Mr. Moore, you are already sworn under oath and the defense can commence with direct examination when ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you please state your full legal name for the court?
Casey Moore.
And what is your occupation?
I am the owner and head administrator at the Wilderness Ranch.
Do you have any degrees for this?
I do.
And where did you get your degrees?
From the University of Wyoming, ma'am.
Thank you. What all did Casey do at the ranch?
I handled all the administrative tasks. I handled all the money, and that was about it.
And what was all done at the ranch?
We had the kids pick up trash. We had them paint the bunkhouse a few times. They went hiking. They fixed fence. They would ride horses. They would do any other chores we could find. They could do dishes and just other manual labor and anything else we could find that we thought they would be interested in.
Who arranged for the children to do everything at the ranch?
Nick Espinoza, he was on hands with the kids at all times, and he handled that portion of the camp, ma'am.
And who came up with the idea of the solo expedition?
Nick Espinoza did. I at first had my doubts. I thought it would be too dangerous for the kids, but Nick Espinoza assured me that everything would be okay and that he would handle it. So I believed him, and we continued with the solo hike.
Who was opposed to the idea of the solo expedition, if anyone?
Dr. Kildare was, ma'am.
And why didn't you listen to a medical professional's warnings?
Mickey Espinoza had said that everything would be okay and there would be no problems with the solo hike, so I chose to listen to my advisor over the doctor.
And you had your doubts about the solo trek, correct?
I did, but Mickey assured me that everything would be okay.
Why didn't you go get the kids as soon as you were concerned about them?
I wanted to, but Mickey said this is the type of experience they would need to grow and change in their lives. So he decided that we should leave the kids and help them figure out how to do it.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Moore.
Good morning.
You were a mediocre student at Wyoming State with a GPA of 2.0, correct?
That is correct.
You weren't particularly interested in the learning aspect of outdoor education.
No, I was not.
After a job at the Rocking Triple R, you decided to start your own business based on wilderness education.
Yes, it looked like a good opportunity, and it seemed there was a high demand for it, so we decided to help out the kids in that aspect.
You knew that wilderness education was, quote, a billion-dollar business that was easy to put together, and it would make you some money, correct?
That's correct.
Let's talk about the camp. It was located on the Wilderness Ranch, correct?
Yes.
And the solo terrain was Paradise Valley?
Yes, that's where the solo hikes held.
Paradise Valley is a treeless badland of eroded soil with no natural water drainage and a very easy place to get lost, correct?
Yes, that is correct, but we gave the kids map
I
skills.
just asked a
and
yes or no question, Mr. Moore.
That's correct.
It had bad cell service, making it difficult to contact anyone, correct?
Correct.
But you only placed emergency cell phones in certain locations in Paradise Valley that the solo trekkers would have to locate.
It was marked on their maps, yes.
You slipped below WBEC standards, including the poor state of repair of camp equipment.
That's correct.
Let's talk about the camp's last few years. You've had other injuries on this solo trek before, correct?
We did, as all ranch activities can cause injuries.
In fact, one year, a spring of water in the solo terrain was followed by a dead cow, and 15 campers got gastroenteritis.
What?
One year, the solo terrain was followed by a dead cow in the water, and 15 campers got
Do you have a question?
Is it correct that a cow was found in the water?
That's correct. The campers discovered there was a cow in the water after they had been released.
And people got sick.
Yes.
After this incident, Mickey wanted to scout out the trails before sending the kids out, but you declined, didn't you?
Mickey said it was an option, but was not required.
You made a sworn statement prior to this trial, didn't you?
Yes, that's correct.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness?
You may.
I am handing you your affidavit. Let me direct your attention to lines 118 and 119. Let me know if I read this correctly. After that experience, Mickey suggested we should scout the trails before sending the kids out again to ensure the water sources were safe. I thought that was unnecessary. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, Mickey did suggest that. Yes, you're reading that correctly.
Thank you. Last summer, 2019 was especially dry, correct?
That's correct.
It was 100 degrees in the shade, if any shade could be found.
That's correct.
It was so hot, one of the ranch wells dried up.
Yes, that is correct.
You had to better implement water rationing due to an overall lack of water.
That's correct.
But you still didn't scout the trail to make sure there was water springs, did you?
We had another well that we were using, so we thought that would be unnecessary. Mickey said we would be fine for the solo hike.
But you didn't scout the trail to make sure there was water springs, did you?
No, Mickey said that would be unnecessary.
Let's talk about Derek. You knew some of the campers were not where they needed to be with their preparations for the solo.
Yes, we knew some of the campers were getting nervous and were doubting themselves.
And Derek was one of those not prepared.
Yes, that's correct. He doubted himself and was a little nervous for the solo hike.
You were aware of Derek's pre-diabetic condition as well as his susceptibility to heat stroke, correct?
Yes, but his parents said it would not hinder him in any way, and we decided he would be fine since his parents said it would be okay.
I asked a yes or no question, Mr. Moore.
Yes, you did.
But you were aware of his susceptibility to heat stroke, correct?
His parents said he was pre-diabetic and that he would
I
be
asked a yes or no question, Mr.
susceptible
Moore.
way.
Very well, I will continue. After Andy Swift reported that the first few water springs dried up, you simply assumed that the others would find water elsewhere, correct?
Actually, I wanted to go get the kids, but Mickey Espinoza said we would not need to.
You made a sworn statement prior to this trial, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness?
You may.
I am handing you your affidavit again. Let me direct your attention to lines 170 and 171.
Okay.
I figured they must have found water elsewhere, or they would have done what Andy did. Because of the reports talked about the springs, I thought about sending out searchers to bring the rest of the kids in. Correct?
That's correct, but Mickey talked me out of it.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. We're done with your testimony today. You may be released from your subpoena as well. Any further witnesses on behalf of the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court to call Cody Bender to the stand?
Very good. I see Ms. Bender now. Ms. Bender, you are already under oath, and direct examination can commence when the defense is ready.
Good morning, Ms. Bender. Can you please state your full legal name for the record?
My name is Cody Bender.
And Ms. Bender, what is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's degree in outdoor education and a master's degree in psychology and business administration.
And do you hold any other additional educational background certifications?
No, I do not.
And where did you receive this education from?
Wyoming State University.
Can you please state your occupation?
I am the consultant of the Wilderness Behavioral Education Center.
And what is the Wilderness Behavioral Education Center?
It is a group that helps set guidelines for camps.
And what is the purpose of the Wilderness Behavioral Education Center?
To help set guidelines for the camps and make sure that the camps aren't going under any rules.
Why did you create the WBEC?
To make sure camps were running the camps correctly and not harming their teens in any way.
And when did you start this program?
In 2002.
All right. What are the purpose of the WBEC guidelines?
To make sure that camps aren't harming their teens and to make sure that they are ran right.
And what is your relationship to Casey Moore?
I approved his membership in his camp.
What observations have you made of the Wilderness Ranch?
I observed that the kids do many chores that involve cooking, cleaning, building fences, painting the bunkhouses, taking care of farm animals, stuff like that.
All right. And how does the CREAT program help the minds of at-risk teenagers?
It helps the teenagers get out of their bad mindsets and helps them learn how to do things on their own.
And what are some advantages of a solo trek experience?
It gets the kids in the moment and it helps them learn how to do things on their own.
What prior information was required to attend the Wilderness Ranch?
They needed a full medical history form.
And was this form also required to attend the solo trek?
Yes, it was.
And who was supposed to sign this form?
A parent or legal guardian and a physician.
And what information was supposed to be provided on this form?
Any prior or pre-existing medical conditions?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. You're a consultant for the Wilderness Behavior Educational Center, right?
Yes, I am.
And you're also on CREATE's advisory board?
Yes, I am.
And you're paid an annual salary of $50,000 for that, aren't you?
Yes.
And you've been criticized for being overly concerned about the money-making aspects of outdoor therapy, haven't you?
I have.
You said that Casey Moore has put certain economies in place, didn't you?
Yes.
Your Honor,
Yes. Mr. Kricken.
there has been technological difficulties. Our lawyer was just kicked out.
Okay, I thought that might have been what happened. Should we just wait a moment for him to?
If you wouldn't mind, Your Honor.
Sure, we'll wait.
Thank you.
While we are in recess here, I just want to mention we're having a little bit of audio difficulties. So make sure you're running on the minimum speaker volume you can get away with in your rooms. And maybe that'll help clear it up. Ms. Rivera, were you able to reconnect?
I do believe it's Cyrus Rain who was disconnected. No.
That's my understanding too. Is Mr.
Oh.
Rain with us?
I believe he's still trying to get in.
Your Honor, this is Marguerite Herman, and what I understand is that the application on his machine sort of collapsed, so he's trying to reboot, and he's working on it. Will get to us as soon as we can.
That sounds great. Thank you.
So, Your Honor.
Looks like we have Mr. Rain back.
I think. I'll change my name real quick and then we should be good to go.
All right, are we ready to resume?
Working at all.
Mr. Rain, are you ready?
I don't know if you guys can hear me, but it's just kind of like frozen. So I'm going to go get the rest of the class.
I'm having trouble hearing you. You're kind of cutting in and out.
Can you try without the earbud, please?
Your Honor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Fertig.
So we are going to transfer Mr. Rain over to my computer and then have him do his cross from here.
Okay.
All righty. I think we're good now, Your Honor.
Wonderful. I can see and hear you, Mr. Rain. You can continue with your cross-examination whenever you're ready.
All righty. So we'll start back at the question that I had asked right before, the technical difficulties. So you said that Casey Moore put certain economies in place, didn't you?
You have not asked me that question yet.
Oh, have I not? Okay. Then I will go to the one before that. So you've been criticized for being overly concerned about the money-making aspects of outdoor therapy, haven't you?
I have been told that I am.
And you've said that Casey Moore's put certain economies in place, didn't you?
I have not said that today.
You even said that Casey Moore has fallen short of WBEC standards at times, haven't you?
I have not said that either today.
You made a sworn statement before this trial, correct?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness?
You may approach.
Alrighty. So I'm showing you your affidavit, and I would like to direct your attention to line 118. Line 118 says, give me just a moment. Just one moment, sorry.
That's all right.
Changing rooms, I kind of got everything mixed up.
Understandable.
All righty. So sorry about that. All righty. So once again, I'd like to direct your attention to line 118. And line 118 says, create might have fallen short of some of WBEC standards, for instance, in the number of credentialing of staff. Did I read that correct?
Yes, you did.
All righty. But you say that these kids were well cared for.
Yes.
And you say that it's just unfortunate that water resources had dried up on the solo trek.
I did.
And it's just unfortunate that Derek failed to start the solo trek well hydrated.
Sure.
And it's just unfortunate that Casey Moore failed to realize these most important factors.
Yeah.
That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Any further witnesses on behalf of the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Any rebuttal witnesses from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Are we ready to proceed with instructions and closing arguments, or does anyone need a break at this time?
I think we're good, Your Honor.
All right, wonderful. I can certainly read the jury instructions if you'd like me to do so. I would normally do that to a jury. On the other hand, if you've all read them and don't need me to read them out loud, we can just proceed with closing arguments. Ms. Rivera, what would you prefer?
Whatever you would like, Your Honor. We really don't have a preference, I believe.
Let me check in with the defense. I can't recall who was going to give closing argument for the defense. Any preference on whether or not I read the jury instructions?
No, Your Honor, that's fine.
Okay, let's since I know you've all had the opportunity to read those on your own, I'll dispose of reading them at this point in time, and we'll proceed forward with closing arguments. The state, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Rain, go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today it is your duty to not only uphold justice for Julie Overstreet and her late son Derek Overstreet, but also to protect every other potential student that could attend CREATE by charging Casey Moore. Casey Moore, in this case, is being charged with involuntary manslaughter. The key elements of manslaughter as charged in this case are: the defendant, Casey Moore, recklessly killed Derek Overstreet. Recklessly is defined by the following: a person acts recklessly when he consciously disregards a substantial risk and that the harm he is accused of causing will occur and the harm results. If from your consideration of all the evidence that each of these elements has been proved beyond a reasonable doubt, you must find the defendant guilty. The offense of involuntary manslaughter, which the defendant is charged with, also includes the lesser offense of criminally negligent homicide. And if you are not satisfied that the defendant is guilty of the offense charged, the defendant may, however, be found guilty of the lesser offense. Criminally negligent homicide is defined as the following: through a gross deviation from the standard of care that a reasonable person would exercise, the defendant failed to perceive a substantial and unjustifiable risk. From the beginning, Casey Moore has been in it for the money. He has never cared about the well-being of the kids. He charges these parents $500 a day, yet the kids are underfed, not given proper amounts of water, and not provided with proper safety equipment. He says himself that kids get hurt every time, yet he lets go of the on-ranch doctor. If this isn't a gross deviation from the standard care that a reasonable person would give, then I don't know what is. But even if you think that Casey Moore met all the standards, gave these kids adequate amounts of food and water, provided them with the proper safety measures, and ensured that they were well cared for, one thing cannot be denied. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, even after major accidents, even after Mickey Espinoza told him to, Casey Moore still failed to scout the trails to ensure that they were safe and that water resources were available. He consciously disregarded a substantial and unjustifiable risk, and the harm resulted. This is reckless and this is negligent. These kids were sent into uncharted territory with no water, very little food, and just a few short weeks of training. And it's only by the grace of God that someone has not died sooner. The evidence is clear. Because of Casey Moore's reckless behavior and because of his negligence, Derek Overstreet is dead. The defense cannot refute the fact that the ground for the solo trek was not scouted. This is negligent. You must vote to protect every other individual that could attend CREATE, and you must vote in favor of justice.
Thank you, Mr. Rain. Any closing argument on behalf of the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Today, you have heard from 6 different witnesses. Dr. Jamie Kildare, a family practice doctor located in Carter City, who testified that Mickey did manage the Wilderness Ranch and was taking care of the day-to-day activities of the camp. You also heard from Mickey himself that she did in fact take care of day-to-day activities of the camp. This also could include taking care of the solo trek and overlooking water resources. You heard from Mr. Moore himself and he testified that he trusted Mickey Espinoza as his advisor in everything that he had done with the camp and anything that Mickey had wanted, that he trusted Mickey in general. You also heard from Parker Nichols that that a solo track was a therapeutic way to find clarity of mind. You also heard from Andy Swift, a camper, a past camper of the Wilderness Ranch, that excuse me, that testified that Casey had given her a welcoming when she first arrived at the camp, and that when she went on the trek and found that there was no water, she had an ability to call out. Now, this was seen as something fairly easy by her, and Overstreet refused to do so, which unfortunately resulted in his death as well. Cody Bender testified that a solo trek experience was helpful to the minds of at-risk teenagers because it allowed them to be more independent in their everyday lives. Now, Casey Moore is an innocent man in this case because he was not in charge of the day-to-day activities. And while, yes, he did make the final decision and things, Mickey Espinoza and Mr. Overstreet's parents should have advocated more if they wanted a better change. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Any final rebuttal remarks from the state?
No, Your Honor.
No.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That concludes our presentation of evidence and our arguments in this matter. I need to confirm with our timekeepers whether or not there were any material violations of the time limits. Timers for the state, any violations?
No, Your Honor.
Timers for the defense, any violations?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. I'd also like to give both sides the opportunity to make any objections if they believe there was a violation of tournament rules. I'm not aware of any, but does the state have any objections they'd like to make?
Not that I'm aware of, Your Honor, no.
And the defense?
Not that we are aware of.
Wonderful. I appreciate that. That concludes my role in these proceedings, but let me check in with others who might need to give us some guidance on how we best proceed at this point in time. Marguerite, are you there?
Yes, Your Honor. I think at this point, the scoring judges who have been kind of off-site in the attendee list will fill out their electronic ballots, send them in, and we'll compile those with the rest. We'll, after this afternoon's trial, we'll find out who the top two scoring teams are. They will advance to a championship round with to be determined. We're thinking sometime next weekend. At this point, I really want to thank Judge Kricken, and it's lovely to have actual sitting judges to preside over our trials. And so thank you for giving up this piece of your Saturday. And I want to thank the students for doing an excellent job. Very professional. Sorry we couldn't provide you a courtroom experience this year, maybe next year. And also to all your coaches and parents and teammates and everybody who helped you get ready today. And it sounds like you did a lot of work reading the affidavits and using the exhibits. And so just kudos and appreciation to all of you, again, to Judge Kricken, and look forward to the final trial here. The East students get to sit back and relax. They've had their two trials, and we'll have one more. And thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'd like to just echo that as well. You all did an excellent job. I am very excited to see the hard work that you put into your presentation today. You knew your case, you knew the points you wanted to make. You did an excellent job, even with our technical difficulties. And I can tell you, we have technical difficulties in every single trial. So there's nothing new about having that happen today. I of course, am in Laramie, and anytime anyone's over in Laramie, if they want to stop in the courtroom and get that courtroom experience, I would be more than happy to show you around the courtroom and talk with you about your your performance today. I certainly wish all of you the best of luck. Job well done. Thank you.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Ms. Kricken, for your time.
Thank you, Your Honor.